Bang! Haltech Nexus S2. Super overkill. Most cars come with a good array of sensors. Would that not be enough?
So motorsport, no.
Maybe help the guys understand why we chose to go with a Nexus as opposed to an Elite.
Faster processing speeds, more data logging, IOs, and more inputs and outputs. It's got an onboard wideband controller. We don't have to run a WB1, which is an extra cost. So whatever you pay extra on the ECU, you actually gain with controlling the wideband by itself. Works out more cost effective to go, yes.
This is why experts are worth talking to. Welcome back, guys, to Hyperbole Auto. This is episode 5, and this is the first time that we've seen each other since the track day. Before we go into anything else, let's have a little chat about that track day. So the day itself was phenomenal. The guys at D-Series Cup put on an amazing event, so thank you to you guys for just keeping grassroots motorsports fun and super awesome. But we had a successful day, but a day that was cut short by a really annoying problem. So let's dive into it. We unloaded the Civic. It took a while to start. You got to remember, we got the engine in on the Thursday and we went racing on the Sunday, and in between we had to drive about 12 hours. So we didn't have a lot of time to really test the car or to even figure it was going to work. And between you and me, we actually ran the event on run-in oil. That's still in the car, and someone here mental note that we have to change that before the next event. But as far as it running, it did well. First session out after we got the thing started. Remember, there's no tune. It's running the stock ECU. We had the Dizzy extremely advanced, so the distributor extremely advanced, just to ensure the vehicle would start. 2 laps into session 1, the cabin filled up instantly with smoke. And I was like, oh God, the motor's already gone. Thankfully, I pulled into the pits and turned out that we somehow neglected to put in the dipstick. Then we had to find a dipstick or a dipstick replacement. And there weren't too many of those kicking around at the track. Luckily, our good friend Ash had bought that Maverick. I don't know if you remember the Maverick from last adventure. And we actually ended up pinching the dipstick out of that and chopping it a little bit shorter so it wouldn't foul on anything. And that got us through the day. So big shout out to Ash and a big shout out to the Maverick for coming in clutch. So we were able to move on from that issue. Session 2, we went out. It wasn't a time session, but we were running our internal timing metrics. And again, it was running about mid-pack, which was pretty good. We weren't pushing the car too much, and we were trying to conserve and just get as much data and feedback as we possibly could. Look, the car jumped out of gear a couple of times because we didn't have the short shifter in, so the bushes in the shifter were loose, and it was like rowing through gears, literally. But the car performed well. It was tight, the motor sounded strong, felt great, had ample power that I wasn't pushing or leaning on. We got back into the pits. We pulled up, shut the car off after the cool down, everything was fine. Call out for session 3? Nothing. Like, literally nothing. Like, the starter wasn't engaging, the lights were going on the dash, we could see that there was power, but the starter wasn't engaging at all. And the starter was actually super hot, like, I'm talking like burn your skin instantly hot, like almost like an exhaust after a session. So we let it cool down. We checked it out and we couldn't see anything visually or visibly wrong with it. So unfortunately, we didn't have a spare starter. We didn't have time to remove the starter because we were so far from home. So we had to pack it up and put it back on the truck. But we've got to leave with a whole bunch of data, a whole bunch of testing effectively. We knew the car handled. We knew the car still had great brakes. Tires were super sticky because they were fresh and new. It felt great. Motor's strong. Now we just got to work on a few things. And that brings us to where we are today. As you can see, change of scenery, change of location. We're actually blessed to be able to work out this amazing private workshop that has some super intense gear behind me. But today we're going to be addressing a few of those issues that we ran into on the track day. So one of the issues that we had was at every single turn, because the tank was full of fuel, there seems to be a split somewhere in the filler neck. And it's literally throwing fuel onto the track at every left or right turn. Not ideal, definitely a massive safety hazard. Instead of trying to find the problem and eliminate it, we're just going to eliminate the whole issue straight off the bat. And we found ourselves a cheap new fuel cell. So again, it's got a little safety cap at the top, works like any other fuel cell, nice and safe. Sender unit, so you know how much fuel you have in there, gravity fed down to the bottom, and we'll drop out the original tank that's in the car, take out that fuel neck system and replace it with this. The other benefit of running an external fuel cell is you get to move it to where it fits in the vehicle, which helps you adjust the balance of the vehicle. Aside from solving our actual issue, it also goes ahead and rectifies another issue, which helps us with the balance of the vehicle, which is pretty cool. Because we're putting external fuel tank in, the next question is, how do you get the fuel from tank to motor? Now, to help us do that is, again, we picked up some relatively inexpensive fuel pumps. These are brand new. I think this ran at about $100, or probably less. So, you know, super inexpensive. And all we're trying to do is show you what we're doing to get this budget vehicle back on the track and performing. That's the whole point of this build. We're not looking to put, you know, titanium whiz-bang gazoos on the car. That's not going to help anyone. This car is designed to be fun, fast, and a hoot with your friends. So that's just effectively the formula that we're running with for it. So again, this little fuel pump should be able to pull enough fuel out of here and pump it straight into the little Civic's D16. So this will be going in. Some of you might note that this is also capable of doing E85. So in the future, should we choose to run E85, which is flex fuel, for whatever reason, we have that alternative and we have that ability. So that'll be going in the vehicle this time as well. Not that we had an ignition problem, but if you're adding more fuel and you got a whole lot more air, the piece that you're missing in any kind of performance build is then spark. Now, with the D16s, there's different things you can do. Being a single cam, there's direct coils that you can put in that can get expensive and get really tricky, or you can go ahead and just simply run thicker gauge wires and try and, I guess, get more electricity into the spark plugs. That gives you a bit more of a bang. But for this build, we're going to run the MSD external coil system. So this effectively replaces your distributor cap, gives you a new rotor, and all the bits and pieces that you need to connect to one of these lovely blaster coils by MSD that pumps a whole lot more energy and electricity into those spark plugs that push a higher output that enables you to burn a lot more fuel, which in turns enables you to put a lot more power through the motor. So we'll be installing that external coil as well. Now, the other small issue was the dipstick. Yes, we stole one out of the Maverick. We did give it back because the Maverick had to drive itself back to Melbourne. That left us without a dipstick. So nothing beats OEM when it comes to dipsticks. And this was overnighted from Japan. Look, I spent stupid money on silly things that make no sense. This is a prime example. I hope you do too. So effectively, by putting all this in, we're rectifying the issues that we ran into at the track day. But there's one big overarching issue that we obviously noticed on first startup. It's a big beefy new motor with a huge cam. It's not running right. So we have to do something about tuning. These Hondas are great. There's multiple different tuning options. There's Hondata, there's external aftermarket ECUs. There's a lot of different options that are out there on the market. We looked at a few different options. Our Civic happens to be an OBD1. So in the land of Civics and aftermarket tuning, the OBD1 P28 computer is the computer that you want, because the guys at Hondata make a little, I guess, companion board that gets soldered into the original ECU and enables you to unlock its tuning potential. So many people have had great results off running this Hondata system. We've got a few plans for the Civic. Not so much that are happening right now, but we need some future flexibility in terms of what we're doing. So keeping that in mind, we started to look at external and aftermarket ECU options that weren't just plug-in boards. That was a massive rabbit hole. We probably looked at, I don't know, what, 3-4 different options, and we kept coming back to one brand and a couple of their different solutions. I'm going to introduce you to a guy who helped us get through all this in a second, but this is what we ended up with. Stay right there 1 second. Okay, that was lame. So I'm just gonna pick it up. Bang! Haltech Nexus S2. Super overkill. Absolutely. But this will fix all of our tuning needs today, tomorrow, and well and truly after that car's been wrecked and probably onto the next project. This can do it all. And what's really cool about Haltech and this solution is, wait for it, it's plug and play. More or less plug and play. So we're able to pick up this Haltech Nexus S2, and for the record, not sponsored. We paid for this with our own actual money, and it came with this amazing wiring loom from the good people at Haltech, which enables us to plug in and connect up to all the connectors that we need to make the Civic run straight off the bat. However, this is fine, but you can always do better. Keeping that in mind, let me introduce you to a good friend of mine. You know how I said I was going to introduce you to a good friend? Well, that good friend is this gentleman, Andrew from 12 Volt Motorsport. Now, cool name, imposing dude, but knows these things like probably better than the back of his hands. I was introduced to Andrew probably about a week ago. I got a call from Ash being like, hey, I got a guy to help us with the Haltech. I was like, cool. Isn't it just a plug-in thing? Like, why do we need help with a Haltech that just plugs and plays? And Ash was like, no, you got to talk to Andrew. So hands the phone over to Andrew. And within 3 seconds, Andrew mentions all drive Civic, mentions SR20s and A86s, mentions 1200 horsepower minimum drag cars. And I was like, I know nothing about what I'm talking about. I'm going to rely on Andrew for all my information when it comes to wiring and anything electronic when it comes to the Civic and any other project moving forward from this point. Now, Andrew's been really kind to come down and actually get physical with the car. So after this, we'll take some bits and pieces of him going through the car, but I think it's really important. And Andrew raised some really great points. Even though this is a plug and play system, there's ways that it can be improved to really make our budget track car give us the most bang for our buck, especially if we're going to be forking out for something like this, like a Haltech that has so many different inputs. So, Andrew, thank you for coming on board. We appreciate you. Can you just let the guys know, obviously, you helped guide us on the Haltech purchase. Obviously, we've got a few plans post what the car is currently going through to improve. So that was one of the leading factors. However, you mentioned a few things, like you were like, it's got more input, it's got more data logging, it allows us to run more sensors. Now, I have a limited knowledge of electrical systems and things like that. My understanding is most cars, especially EFI cars, come with a good array of sensors and systems. Would that not be enough?
So motorsport, no. Well, generally, yes and no, that is the quick answer, I guess, because yes, it has enough to run the car, but for what you want to do, and if you're using an aftermarket ECU, we can monitor and control more. So why wouldn't you? Sensors these days are cheap, chuck sensors in, tuner's gonna love you.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. But in terms of what sensors, like the car already has like a water temp sensor and an oxygen sensor, like what else do we need to run?
So basically what a factory car will generally have will be your coolant temp, air intake temp, throttle position sensor, but most of the time they will run it like for instance, your car has a oil pressure switch. There's actually no oil pressure sensor. There's no oil temperature. It won't have anything to do with fuel pressure. It's very limited sensors and also runs a narrow wideband sensor. So it's very, when it comes to tuning, not as great.
Okay.
Control.
So I guess those sensors then open up a whole lot more options when it comes to that tuning. And by the sounds of it, like if it's only got a temperature, you said a oil switch, not even a pressure sensor?
Just to control the dash light. So if you got low oil pressure and the light turns on, that's all it is. It's a single wire, very basic setup. So we replaced that. We put in a dual motorsport sensor so we can do oil pressure and oil temperature at the same time.
Okay. You know, we just put a new motor in that car and we're still running it in. We're getting to the point where it's almost run in. Before it goes to the tuners, you're going to help us with some of these sensors. Is there any like safety features by putting in all these different sensors? Like, will that help us save the motor, or are we just left to the gods of my right foot?
Well, you're still left to your gods, let's be honest. If you put into a wall, the sensor's not going to save you.
Okay, that's good.
So yes, we can add in protection. So this is where I dictate to a lot of guys. I get guys that spend $50,000 on engines and might spend $300 on sensors. So if, for instance, we put in yours, we put a water pressure and water temp. So if we change the water pressure, we can see if the head gasket's going, or if your future plans, we put boost through the car, we can see if we're lifting head gaskets and stuff like that from too much boost pressure. So we can add a lot of protection, and we can see, for instance, your fuel pressure sensor. If you had your surging issue, we can see that in the data. We can actually set up something in the table. Depending on the tuner, how they set up their protections, everyone's a little bit different. I work with a lot of different tuners. They all have their own ways how they want it done. But he can have his fuel pressure, he can log it, he can see what's going on. We can see if we're surging through corners, then we can adapt the fuel system to adjust from there on out. So it all depends on the individual tuner, but the more sensors you have, the tuner's gonna love you more because he's got more data to bring into the tune. Like fuel temperature plays a big role too. So atomization of fuel, hotter fuel, doesn't burn as well as cold fuel, the basics of it. There's going to be people out there that are going to correct me on that. They're going to...
Oh, go in the comments, guys. Flame him.
Their comments are going to go nuts with, oh, well, he's wrong with this. But yeah, that's the basics of it. The more data you got on what's happening in the engine, the more safety you can protect the built motor, and also the tunability. It's just, and for the sake, like I said, it's only $150 for a dual sensor motorsport one, like a Bosch these days are so cheap. Why wouldn't you run something?
Almost insurance,
100%
to a degree. And I know when we decided that Haltech was going to be the way that we were going to go, we were looking at the Elite 1500 versus the Nexus S2. And you guided us down the Nexus path. And initially I was like, we have to pay for this. That's going to cost me more money. But you had some really good arguments that did end up making a lot more sense now, especially when we're fitting all this gear to the car. Maybe help the guys understand why we chose to go with a Nexus as opposed to an Elite.
So the S2, there's some software, hardware upgrades on it makes. So faster processing speeds, more data logging. So I think it's double capacity thereabouts, I think, of the data logging. So for the racetrack, so you can download your data logs, you can actually see what's happening throughout the track. Also, you've got more IOs and more inputs and outputs. So you've got more control of other sensors if you want to add more. It's got an onboard wideband controller. So we don't have to run a WB1, which is an extra cost. So whatever you pay extra on the ECU, you actually gain with controlling the wideband by itself. So you actually don't have to, it's not spending more, it's actually works out more cost effective to go the S series than is the Elite, because you have to run that wideband.
And that's a big saving. Like, you know, if you're able to understand that by spending a little bit more initially, you save a lot more on the back end, it made a whole lot of sense to us anyway.
Well, you did give me options of what you're going to do in the future. So we're like, well, let's give some flexibility in our options of what we want to run.
Absolutely.
So if we're going to go boosted, there's different avenues of boost control and stuff.
That's cool. So. And you were saying, even if we decide to swap over to flex fuel with the Haltech and the way that we're setting things up, it should give us that adjustability?
Yeah, so once again, tunability. So you can, whatever fuels you want to run, we can do that. And also most flex fuels have a temperature sensor in it. So there goes your added extra temperature for fuel.
Awesome. And I did touch on this at the very start when I introduced Andrew, but please give me just like a snippet of we got to tell everyone a little bit about that little badass 70 Civic and just some of the other cars you've had. Because I think, just for context, like I keep saying it, like we're just car guys doing car guy stuff, but the people that we work with and the people that we're bringing into this are all car people. And Andrew's a perfect and prime example of car person. Just again, don't go into the whole thing, but just a little snippet just to give the people at home a taste of what you've experienced and what you do.
So 25 years building cars, basically. So I was lucky enough to live within half an hour of Eastern Creek and Oran Park in Sydney. So I was at a racetrack every weekend. So obviously to build race cars. So I started out with an A86 twin cam, then it went to the GZE Supercharged, and then I went to one of the first SR20 conversions in the country. Raced that for years. The new project is a 78 Honda Civic converted to all-wheel drive K24 turbo. Custom everything. There's not a nut and bolt on this car.
Literally everything. I've seen it with my own eyes. Andrew's gone to town.
Yeah, a little bit overboard, but it's going to have every Haltech component under the sun, every sensor under the sun. If you see the harness, it's a fully concentrically twisted harness, and it's mil-spec connectors throughout the whole thing. Can
we quickly touch on that? I know we've discussed a lot of little bits and pieces, but you were saying like the grade of wire makes a difference as well.
Yeah, it's a quality thing. It's like if you buy something cheap oils or expensive oil, they have come down to quality and stuff like that. So I generally use TEF cell for everything. So it's a smaller size wire, but the coating is a lot better. It's better heat resistant, fuel resistant, got more, it's aerospace grade. So it's just
perfect for the Civic as
well. Yeah, well, exactly. For the quality of the Civic, this is right up its alley. It's just better quality. I can get a whole harness, whereas let's say a plug and play harness is about a 30 to 50 mil sort of harness like that. Yep. Something like that, I'd get down to 10 mil.
Yeah, wow.
So it saves weight, saves size.
It conducts electricity faster.
Well, it doesn't change that, but it just the heat range of this will melt. If you run that near anything near heat or vibration and stuff like that, it's just can cause issues, whereas the stuff that I run doesn't.
Amazing.
And it's not that much more expensive, so.
This is why experts are worth talking to. Andrew, let's go see some of your work. Guys, Famous Insurance have come on board to help us with the Civic build. That's right, we somehow got an insurance company to insure our Track Day Civic to take it to the track. Amazing. And the best thing about Famous, they're car people. You could ask them all kinds of weird and wacky stuff about what they drive, what you like, what they like, and then you can actually have a conversation. Some other people who used to say they do that, don't do that no more. So, jump on the phone to Famous, give them a call, get a quote, can't hurt.